10 years. 10 years have led to this. It wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility that this is bigger than Star Wars. 10 years of getting to know these characters. With them, we have laughed, we have cried, we have been frustrated, we have been disappointed, we have been amazed. This, people of YouTube, is what 10 years worth of build looks like. Infinity War is here. Wildling, you must be put on hold. This is the review people want, and I'll be damned if I don't talk about it. Kids have become adults since Robert Downey Jr. first donned the Iron Man suit, and what a journey this has been. Now I shall compose myself, breathe, and prepare myself for this minefield. To navigate this film without spoiling anything is going to be a mammoth task, but avoid them I shall. For starters, the flow of this film is incredibly well paced for how much they have to pack in. If the universe didn't exist, this would have failed dramatically, but the fact we have had a decade to get to know these characters, any worry about no character development is both realised, but it doesn't affect the story. We know these characters, so just being able to see them come together is enough on its own. And this film does very well at jumping between locations. There is not a single moment where a cut feels jarring or out of place, and the whole thread is very easy to follow. The battles are everything you expected and more. The Wakanda battle is just fantastic, and I have never wanted to shout out in a theatre, but the urge to shout out Wakanda forever just goes to show the effect the build-up of the last decade has had on audience members. Just seeing the reunions and subtle nods to previous films scattered throughout this movie is a rewarding experience. We have seen the characters divided, and now they reconcile, and Thanos' henchmen are a hell of a lot of fun to witness. With a big shout out going to the magician villain. He has an amazing fight against Doctor Strange that is brilliant to watch and brilliantly edited. Character wise, we have a lot of characters to go through, and for the most part they all get a reasonable amount of screen time. My big standout characters, however, include Doctor Strange, who is absolutely fantastic. Thor is really good. Scarlet Witch definitely comes into her own in this movie. Iron Man is probably the most likeable he has ever been for me. And Star-Lord is hands down the best Guardian in this film, which is surprising for me as he's always been my least favourite Guardian of the Galaxy. However, some characters do feel just cast aside in comparison to what role people thought they might play. For one, Bucky feels like an afterthought, and Captain America feels less important, which is surprising considering that shot in the trailer where he's holding Thanos' gauntlet. Spider-Man is also kind of just there. Some characters just kind of come and go, and I won't spoil who, but Marvel does not hold back on the stakes. Def's patience with Marvel is finally rewarded in this film. And if you don't feel anything, then why have you been watching these films for the last 10 years? And I will say this, some characters are not even in this film that you would expect. I won't spoil who, but you will wonder where these certain characters are in the back of your mind throughout this movie. However, I do have issues with this film. Now, I don't expect an Oscar-winning classic. I don't expect that. At the end of the day, this is a fun superhero movie. But, tonally, while I accept Marvel likes its humour, there is a time and a place for that, and when the fate of half the universe is at stake, you would think some characters would know when to pick their jokes. Bruce Banner, on one hand, considering his contact with the enemy previously, never seems to channel any sort of fear. In fact, he is more fussed about making jokes. And when most of the other characters have that look of a fighter knowing this fight could be their last, Banner does stick out like a sore thumb. This is a battle for the universe, and the time for joking should really be over. Yes, I get it's a comic book movie, but in a live action film, juggling the two tones is very hard to do, and this film does fail at it at times. Also, I was bugged by this running theme of characters saying something and then failing to follow through with it. This happens about 5 times, and it starts to get a little too predictable. Also, things happen and it's obvious they're going to happen, yet the film drags these things out. There is one particular scene only needed a single line of dialogue for the audience to click on into what was happening, but they drag that scene on for a full 2 minutes before the realization hits the characters on screen, and if anything, it lessened the impact it should have had. This audience is not dumb, Marvel. We don't need it hammering into our skulls. In terms of the film itself, it starts hard, it finishes hard. This film does not shy away and has a hell of a lot of guts. The stakes are well and truly real in this, and the first few minutes do not hesitate to show you this. Now, I wish I could talk about my favourite moment, but sadly I cannot because obvious spoilers, and any long-term Marvel fan will get a kick out of it, I will guarantee that much. Also, I might be wrong, but there are 2 simple bits of dialogue that seem throwaway. However, I feel like there is a deeper meaning into it going forward. That being said, I am not film fairy, but I have a feeling things are about to get very interesting indeed. Now, I will say this much, a part of you will die in that theatre. You will come out and part of you will be missing. That is how effective this film is with its audience. Now, before I get to my rating, let's talk about the big man himself. Thanos is amazing. Josh Brolin, you get my MVP here, because surprisingly enough, as much as he is a madman, his motivations made sense. I understood Thanos' side of looking at things, and considering he wants to kill half the universe, it is certainly an achievement that I don't hate him. Thanos has surpassed Loki as Marvel's best villain, though I personally am one of the advocates for Zemo and Ego. It is a weird thing to like the villain, considering up until now he's just been the guy in the chair. I feel like the fact that we already knew our heroes allowed time for the film to focus solely on the development of Thanos, and this works fantastically. Now, my rating. This film is not the best movie ever, it's just not. But considering the build and what this represents, I have maximum respect for Marvel, who decided 10 years ago they were going to make a shared universe. To think that used to be a bonkers idea that has now become more synonymous with modern cinema, and I still believe that the best is yet to come from Marvel. Bring on the next phase. Infinity War is a good cup of tea. So, Avengers Infinity War, you've seen it. Don't lie, you just have seen this. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below and hit that round subscribe button for more reviews coming all the time. This is that Spike.